Hey,
Hi,
how are
how
you?
are
Good, 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 good. Happy Thursday.
you? Thank you. Happy Thursday to you. Thank you
Awesome,
for having
awesome.
me on. I've been following the Sisters on Fire broadcast, so I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. No, we're happy to have you. This is really fantastic. So, first and foremost, of course, share your name and who you are, and then we'll get started.
Sure. So my name is Monique Denton-Davis. I am the founder of Embrace Your Cake LLC. And the cake stands for confidence, attitude, kindness, and excellence. I am a career coach and a life empowerment coach. And I am an HR professional with about 25 years HR experience.
Absolutely. And if you're familiar with her lovely face, it's because me and Monique have done this a couple of times in different arenas.
Yeah.
And I thought it was absolutely a must to bring her on as a Sister on Fire IRL because she's on fire with what she does as a coach, with what the work that she can do with organizations as an HR consultant. And so I'd love for you to kind of get everyone else watching either on the live or on replay
Mhm.
a little bit up to date with like how did you get into your career, how did you get into HR, and then how did you make that transition into entrepreneurship?
It's interesting because I kind of fell into HR, but I think almost all HR people are people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we love to communicate, we love to interact with other people. But I was working at a transportation company, a small mom and pop transportation company, and I started out in the office and I started out doing some operations. And then from operations, I kind of fell into HR. I did a lot of administrative work, some payroll work. But what I found out is that I loved having the position where there was constant interaction with the
Gotcha.
employees and with the staff of the company. So from there, from that position, when I transitioned from that company, I looked for positions specifically in human resources,
Mm-hmm.
and I started off in recruitment. So I started off in recruitment. My first 10 years were specifically geared towards recruitment. So I was recruitment specialist, recruitment manager. I was a recruiter. It's interesting because at one time I even had my own boutique recruitment firm. So I
Wow.
decided that I was going to recruit specifically for IT individuals. And this is, goodness, I don't want to date myself, but this is actually back in 2000. You know, everybody was afraid in 2000. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen with
Yeah.
technology? So I started off in recruiting and then moved into a generalist role and training and professional development, organizational management. So my career kind of took off from there.
Okay. And how did you know you wanted to then transition into entrepreneurship and doing either HR consulting as well as coaching and all the events and things that you put on with that?
So with the coaching, I've always loved to. Well, I'll say this: the entrepreneur bug was in me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in college, I was the Avon lady. I started off. I sold Avon. I have sold, and I still love it. I'm actually wearing it today. Tracy Lynn jewelry. I
Nice.
had my own jewelry. It's so funny, Natasha, because I called it motif. Okay, so I would actually purchase jewelry wholesale, and then I would set up different pop-up shops and I would sell jewelry. I don't know if anyone remembers, there used to be a lingerie company called Lovely Lingerie. I did that as well. So
Wow.
I did several entrepreneurial things. None of them actually would stick because I dabble a little bit, but I wasn't 100% committed. But I
Mm-hmm.
always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I started Embrace Your Cake with the career coaching and the life empowerment coaching, at that time, I said, okay, this is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy training. I enjoy compliance. A lot of people find that a little nerdy, but I do. I enjoy compliance. I
Yeah.
enjoy empowering others, and I enjoy talking about careers and career growth and career transition. One of the problems that I had working in HR, you know, when you work in human resources, you're working for the company and you're also working for the employees. So you have to have a middle ground. But
Mm-hmm.
what I would find myself doing, especially in the early years with the recruiting, is I would attend college fairs, I attend career fairs, And I started coaching, like literally. The candidates would come up
Mm.
with their resumes, and I'm like, okay, this looks great, but you might want to change this. You might want to update this. Use these keywords. This is what employers
Mm.
are looking for. And I finally had to tell myself, Monique, you're spending too many times with each individual, coaching them on things
Yes.
that they can do, you know, to even
Mm.
get their foot in the door, coaching them on presentation. So those are some of the things where I said, this is what I really enjoy, and this is the area. Why can't I offer these services on a one-on-one basis for myself? Why can't I represent myself in a company to
Exactly.
help individuals grow? So that's where the career coaching and life coaching came in.
I
So
love it.
it's definitely derived from who I am as a
Hmm.
true HR person.
I love it. And see, guys, everyone listening, that's the sister on fire attitude. I love how you phrase it too. Like, why can't I? Right? So many
Right?
people start with, I can't. And you took the affirmative of saying, well, what's stopping me? Right? Nothing's stopping you. It's up to you to go out and
Absolutely.
do that. Right?
Right. Right.
Interesting. Okay. Now, I also have recruiting experience, and I from a legal perspective, and I found the world to be very taxing in the sense of very difficult clients, right? Law firms and lawyers aren't necessarily cuddly clients, right? And then you also you have the candidate side, right? And we have a lot of nerves and angst and people who are really looking for a job, and it could be 100 people eyeing for two positions, right? It could get a
Yes.
little bit nutty. So would you say that it was also stressful for you with the type of recruiting that you were involved in?
So I did. I worked for several companies. I worked for banking for a bank who opened up, and here I go again dating myself, but I worked for a bank, and when I signed on at the time, they started the whole supermarket banking, the in-store banking. So now you see these branches in the supermarkets. When I
Yeah.
first started with this particular organization who really started the supermarket banking, you know, the one-stop shopping,
Yeah.
my position was to recruit for those types of candidates. So you had your bank tellers, you had your sales associates, you had your investment associates that needed their Series
Mm.
6 and 63 and their life and health insurance licenses. So that was difficult to recruit for those types of individuals, but to
Yeah.
recruit for them to work in a bank inside of a supermarket. So that was different because it's like,
Mm.
yes, I love the job. Wait a minute, I'm going to be in a supermarket. You know, I'm going to be in a smaller establishment inside of the supermarket. But it was great.
Gotcha.
It was a great experience. One of the things that, and one of the trainings and workshops that I offer is a workshop that talks about your soft skills. And a
Mm.
lot of times I tell the candidates, you know, with recruiting, I always keep in mind how I felt when I was on the other side of the desk.
Yeah.
So we're the recruiters, right? We're the HR people. We
Yes.
get to make recommendations on the best candidates. And here we are, we're presenting. My goal is always to present the top three. So you don't want to
Mm.
overwhelm your hiring managers. So you present them the top three. But what I also explain to managers and to candidates in using your soft skills, if you don't have all of the technical skills, what
Mm-hmm.
are the other skills you have? How's your problem solving? How's your
Mm-hmm.
team building? How can you use these characteristics that an employee
Yes.
has and then train them in some of those technical skills that are needed? Um,
Interesting. Okay. And
yeah,
what
but
would
it's
you say? And what would you say was the most meaningful lesson that you learned in your career?
so the most meaningful lesson, and a lot of HR people could probably relate to this, but the most meaningful lesson is to always, no matter what position you're in, but especially HR positions, to make sure that you are always documenting, make sure that all of your information,
Mm.
um, you're always, I would say, creating to-do lists. Make sure that everything that you do, if you don't go back and document it that very minute, at the end of your day, you update all of your spreadsheets, all of your applicant tracking. And the reason why I say this, I worked for one organization, and they needed, I would say, about 5 IT people, right? So they
Okay.
needed some help desk. And there were some issues with the management of that department in terms of embracing diversity. So I'll say it in a nice way. So what the management excuse was is that, you know what, we couldn't embrace diversity because Monique did not present us with diverse candidates. Now, what Monique was able to do was to go back and look at my applicant tracking log, my documentation, and say, as a matter of fact, these are the candidates that I presented you with, and these were their skills. So the important lesson for me was to always make sure that I document everything that I do. When you have your documentation, you have your backup. So the fact that I was able to pull top 5, hey, I presented you top 5, you know, a top 5 of diverse candidates. And you interviewed 3 out of these 5. You chose to interview them. For whatever reason, you chose not to hire them. But it's important that I was able to pull up my documentation and to show. So the important lesson, and not just HR, no matter what position you have, always keep your documentation. You know, cross your T's and dot your I's. And if you can't,
yes,
take time at the end of every day to make sure those things are done.
I love it. I love that you brought that, that you said that, because I think that, you know, I actually have an experience when I was in HR, when I was speaking to a client, and they actually were asking for diverse candidates because they were like, essentially they wanted to have an attorney, a person who's going to be a person of color, because they wanted to bring in more business from that community. And they had the nerve to say that right on the phone. And they asked me, they asked me, hey, you know, can you send over the Black attorneys and, you know, the Hispanic attorneys? And I think that they were assuming that I was not a person of color by the way that they were speaking to me. And so it's interesting how race and culture and diversity inclusion really come into the HR world is very, very interesting. And I think you are right. And I think that documentation rule of thumb works in every industry, right? Because people sometimes will throw you under the bus. And if you don't, like you said, if you don't have documentation, you don't have backup, you don't have verification for what you did, what you didn't do. So that's a really great tip of advice.
Yes, and this is responsibility. So in HR, we have that responsibility, but in any position that you have, you know, you have the responsibility, and we have to also be the role models, right, for the other managers and other hiring managers. So that's something that is very important.
Okay, absolutely. And now that actually leads beautifully to the next segment, which is, how would you say your career was affected by being a woman and also by being a person of color?
Oh boy, so by being a woman, I have, by being a woman, especially in human resources, I would say not that much. There are a lot of HR professionals that are women. There are a lot of HR professionals that are women of color and that are people of color. However, there are not a lot that are in top executive positions, right? There aren't a lot that are in, I would say, these affluent HR organizations, and there are several that are in the decision-making positions. So when I started to climb the ladder and move from a recruiter to a generalist to a manager and then to a director and having director responsibilities, and I'm like, okay, where do I go from here? And I started to look for other women of color that I can connect with, network with, and identify with to say, okay, Monique, there's some opportunities. There weren't a lot. Even in terms of organization. So I was the co-chair of a HR organization in New York City. And I joined that organization, I would say 5 years prior. And I didn't feel comfortable because there weren't a lot of people of color in that organization. So 5 years down the line, now I have a different mindset and I have a growth mindset. And I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to walk in the room and worry about who's in the room. I'm going to walk in the room and worry about what Monique is bringing to the room. You know, oftentimes we look for people that look like us. What I decided to do is I'm going to walk into the room and make the change. So the second time around, I joined the organization again, and I became part of the membership committee to specifically increase membership with minority HR professional, women professionals of color. So Natasha, I'll tell you, that was a bust. And that was a bust. I can't even say, oh, I was so successful, I did so great. It was a bust. And it was a bust because it was difficult to find some of the HR women of color in certain positions. And then it was difficult because the organization wasn't ready. So when you're one person opposed to being a team of people that really have a specific goal in mind, it was really difficult. Hence, that's another reason why I said entrepreneurship. Okay.
Gotcha.
And there are women that I can help to get to that executive level. So it's difficult. It's not easy. There are not a lot of us, but there, but the industry is growing, and female executives, not just in HR, but in other positions, were increasing. And if you think about statistics, and I'm going to be quiet now because I'm going on and on with this question, but if you think about statistics and you think about education, and you look at the numbers, we are among the most highly educated in the United States. Yeah. In terms of bachelor's degrees, master's degrees that have been completed, also where we stand in terms of doctorate degrees, but we don't always hold the positions that match that education, especially to our counterparts.
Interesting. Okay. And now would you say entrepreneurship, because I think we are kind of in this golden age, right, where a lot of people are making transitions or at least starting the side hustle and like slowly unwinding the coils of corporate America's grasp on their neck, and they're like, oh, there's freedom at last, right? Like, so how would you say that entrepreneurial journey has been affected, being a person of color, being a woman, maybe as it comes to pitching or funding? How have you seen kind of an effect there?
It has been great for me. I will say that my color hasn't really impacted some of the things that I'm doing as an entrepreneur. And what it takes for me is to be, and then, Kate, the C is all about confidence. I feel that as an entrepreneur, you get to represent your organization fully, 100%. So I don't have any hiccups in terms of, okay, am I saying the right thing? Am I saying the wrong thing? Are they going to like me? Are they not going to like me? I approach it with, this is the information that I have. This is what I can contribute. If they find it valuable, then they'll like me. Another thing is, and I just was, I was a part of the Women in Negotiation Summit. So I was a panelist in one of the workshops, which was a great workshop that talked about how women negotiate and the differences between women and men negotiating. But they had a specific initiative to make sure they incorporated more women of color. So that's not the only organization that's doing it. There's opportunities out there. As an entrepreneur, I feel like I have more of an opportunity because I can be true to who I am and not worry about, the powers that be. And I can represent myself the way I would like to be represented. So it has impacted me at this stage. 2 years from now, I'm not sure, but at this stage of where I am, these 2 years old, it has not impacted me negatively.
Okay, I agree. I think that I would say I had seen my race or gender come into play when working for someone else, but as an entrepreneur, I mean, granted, you don't really know what other people are thinking, or you don't know whether if you pitch something and you get it, you not get it, if your race or gender has to, be a part of that decision. But I would say outrightly so far as well, and many other entrepreneurs I speak to as well, they wouldn't say that their gender or race has been outrightly a negative impact in their journey, which I think is exciting because that is another potential benefit as to stepping out on your own, because you can very clearly have incidents working for someone and have your race or have your gender come up. And then when you kind of do this whole radical, oh, actually, I'm going to be my own boss, it's kind of interesting how it becomes freeing in all those different ways. That's interesting. Okay. And so for tonight, and again, thank you, Nicole. Thank you. I forget, was it Linda or Lisa? No, Linda. Yeah, Linda Ramos for joining, and everyone else who is joining on the live or watches this on the replay. We appreciate you. You know, I would say now the next part is to talk about the Sisters on Fire concept, right? So Sisters on
Yes.
Fire derives from a play that was started by Marcia McNair and Anissa Moore. They're both professors at Nassau Community College, right? And they wanted to share the Black woman narrative in America. Hello, Melrose. And it's been a wonderful journey as the person who does like the social media or press, and I started the Sisters on Fire IRL series. It's been really interesting to see how the play has resonated with people, because as you know, being a Black woman in America has certain experiential feelings and incidents that happen to us, and the play goes through, you know, a woman who loses her son to police violence, how women treat each other, sisterhood and the lack of it, how our brothers may or may not want to be with us. There's all these different narrative issues that are surrounding the Black woman's experience, and we wanted to keep the fire blazing by celebrating women like yourself in real life who are fearless and are willing to go out and say, why can't I do something? So for you, how would you define the term Sister on Fire?
So I would define the term Sisters on Fire as a sister who is not afraid to authentically be who she is. A sister that has a passion and who decides, you know what, I'm going to move forward. Like you said, unafraid or afraid, you know, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do this. I have several role models in my family of women who are sisters on fire. And I also define a sister on fire where if you're given an opportunity, and you know, others might not believe in you, but if you believe in yourself, you take that bull by the horns and you run with it. Those are sisters on fire. So that's how I defined it. Women that are standing up for their community, that are standing up for other women, women in politics. We have several women, councilwomen, assembly women, legislators in Long Island who are true examples of Sisters on Fire. You know, business owners, women who have different organizations. And those are women that I can also look up to and say, you know what, they're doing it, I can do it. They're encouraging and they're empowering.
I love it. And I would add, right, a sister on fire is what? Someone who's embraced their cake, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So embracing all of her cake, right? Her attitude, her altitude, her kindness. And the thing about kindness is that people will always remember how you make them feel. And I feel like as women of color, that's something that we always take into consideration. You know, we are kind-spirited by nature and we're nurturers by nature, but kindness is important in the cake because how you make people feel in turn will also be how they remember you and how they treat you. And then the E for excellence, operating in excellence, no matter how big, no matter how small, but to remember in everything that you do to operate in excellence.
Absolutely. And in your life, who would you say were women that were sisters on fire, whether they were personal, you had personal relationships, or you looked up to them in media, in education, etc.?
Right. I would say my number one sister on fire has to be my mom. And I'll say that because, so my mother holds a position as a chief executive officer at a company, an organization that she's been there for over 30 years. And I know the journey because I was there. And I know that the journey wasn't easy. And as a single mom, she is still alive, and my brother and I, in terms of making sure that we had all of the things that we need, and also making sure we were involved and active politically and in our communities. But I saw the growth and I saw each level, and I knew each position wasn't easy. But when I say she owned it, and that's what I mean, when someone gives you an opportunity, you need to own it. So she is a true example of a sister on fire.
Yay! Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melrose Corley wrote hashtag EYC. Yeah. So shout them out. Awesome. So what's the website for your mom if people want to connect with her as well?
So if you would like to connect with her, it's eoc-nassaucounty.org
Okay.
and eoc-nassaucounty.org. Or you can also Google EOC of Nassau County, Inc.
Okay.
And if
Perfect.
you want to catch up with Embrace Your Cake,
Yes.
you can go to embraceyourcake.com and also find us on any social media channel.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
You know what, Gosh, I have to add other Sisters on Fire for me are those everyday women that are doing extraordinary things, that are taking care of their families, single moms that are taking care of their children, even families where there's both parents. We have a lot of responsibility as women.
Yes.
And I give the woman credit that I see standing at the bus stop at 7 a.m. in the morning. I look at her and I'm inspired, because I'm like, okay, that sister's doing what she has to do.
Yeah.
I am inspired by Sisters on Fire who are not only working full-time jobs, but continuing their education, which is something that I went through for a couple of years, working a full-time job. Those are Sisters on Fire. Sisters on Fire are people like you who say, you know what, I'm going to showcase other Sisters on Fire. So those are all, we're all in one way or another Sisters on Fire.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that ultimately, I think, is what we want people to get from this series. That, like, we're celebrating you and we're celebrating, the next woman and all these other women, but ultimately we all are Sisters on Fire. We all have that fire inside of us. It's just, you have to let that out. You have to share it with the world, and you have to decide, what does that mean for you? Because for you, that might be the coaching. It might be, HR consultant. It might be, you might flame on through your business. Someone else, like you said, might just be flaming on being a mom, just being a really dope mom and like taking care of her household. Another woman, maybe she does it in politics, right? We all can burn and ignite the world in any different way we want, and in multiple ways. There's not one limitation, right? And so I'm so grateful that you said that. Awesome. Okay. And now, what advice do you have for anyone watching this who maybe they're struggling, trying to figure out how to embrace their cake, how to be a sister on fire in their life? What would you just say to that person?
I would say to take one small step at a time. Don't go after a big goal. Create a big goal, but then go after small goals to reach that big goal. The other thing that I would say, and I have to also give kudos to all of the women that are in my book, Unapologetically Winning, Overcoming Adversity, and Taking Action. So there's 12 co-authors, and all of those women have had adversity, right? We all have adversity sometime. So it's not caving into the things that happen to you, right? It's not the fact that this happened to you or this didn't happen to you. I got fired, not given a chance. It is how you respond to those things that happen to you. So respond in a positive way. Take small steps, and whatever it is that you want to do, figure out. There are coaches, there's mentors, there are resources around that can help you to achieve whatever those goals are that you want to achieve. So again, it's create a big goal and take small goals, small steps, creating small goals to achieve the big goal.
Absolutely. And I would just add, for anyone watching this, I would say the best way I would say to be a sister on fire is definitely, I completely agree with what Monique said. I would also just say, try to figure out your purpose, right? I think so many people look outside for external validation as to who they need to be, right? Mom said, I need to be a lawyer. Dad said, I need to do this. My girlfriend says, I can't be an artist, right? Like, there's all these external voices, and the number one voice that's always going to be important in your life is the one inside your head. You've got to figure out who you want to be based on what you want, not what anyone else wants. So even when working with a coach, even when working with mentors, they will give you advice, they will give you techniques and things, but you have got to do the internal work. You've got to figure out what is this life for me, right? What does living your best life mean, right? So just try to figure out your why as soon as you can, right? I think people who figure out that why sooner really like escalate in their success and their prosperity. So just for my own self, I was definitely victim of like, oh, I'm Caribbean, I should be a professional, I should, you know, all these types of like should and
Yes.
expectation.
Yes.
Gotta get inside of yourself. What the hell do you want? Right? Right. And sometimes a college degree isn't a part of that. Maybe you do that because again, we live in a world full of, admiration for accolades and things like that. But at the end of the day, who are you in this world? How do you define yourself? So I think that's a big part of being a sister on fire. So with that, I'd love for you, and I'm gonna add in the comments at the end, how do people find you? Give the name of the book again. Where do people get the book? And also if you have any announcements and all of that you'd like to share.
So the name of the book is Unapologetically Winning, Overcoming Adversity and Taking Action. You can find it on the Embrace Your Cake website, which is embraceyourcake.com. It's also available on Amazon. You can follow myself on LinkedIn at Monique Denton-Davis. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Embrace Your Cake. We have some great things going on currently. I'm working on doing some training and workshops for women that are in supportive housing environments. And that's really important. One of the trainings that I'm working on is Career 101, which is, hey, I don't have all of those technical skills, but how can I strategically use my soft skills and list them on my resume to, one, get my foot in the door, and then once I get to the interview, how can I close the deal? So those are things that we're currently working on.
I love it. That's phenomenal. So yeah, I'll definitely leave Monique's information. She's a sister on fire, guys. If you want to get your life with your career, she's definitely somebody to help. You can always reach me, dressingroomnumber8.com. I'll share my website as well. And just thank you, Monique. Thank you for being a sister on fire. Thank you for sharing your story and being a part of this series. We're really excited to feature you. Any last minute words, feel free to share.
Just thank you to you, because you are with the, I'm watching everything. Dressing Room 8, woke and free. I'm taking the fashion tips. I'm looking at the morning post. So thank you for being a sister on fire and representing the whole sister on fire movement.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you, Monique.
Good night.
Good night.